Hi, friends! Join us as we dive into the themes, metaphors, and foreshadowing of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. We are your hosts, Leah,
Sarah, Tabby.
and whether you're a new viewer or a longtime fan, welcome to Becoming Buffy.
Hey guys, welcome back to Scoobies Secrets for our spoiler section. Today we are talking about Superstar. And man, this is an episode that kind of just packs a bunch of character development, like small bits of character development into one seemingly throwaway episode, or I guess I shouldn't say throwaway, one kind of hallway episode, if you will. I like to refer to this one as the first time that Joss Whedon attempted to gaslight the Buffy fandom with Jonathan, because, we have Dawn coming
The
later.
first time.
But yeah, Superstar. This is an interesting one. This is one that I think I mentioned this in the spoiler free episode. This is one that I often forget about. And then we get to it. I'm like, okay, that was fun. But then having watched the entire series, I look at this episode and I go, wow, there's a lot of groundwork that is being laid for future development of certain characters, especially in season 6. And so I'm kind of excited to talk about it because once you know the rest of the series, it's kind of hard not to see this stuff.
Oh, the only two characters that I can think of are Spike and Jonathan. Are you saying any other characters?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am.
Anya.
Anya, I guess slightly, because I mean, you have a little bit more screen time for her, but I'm actually thinking about Willow. And I know that's, like, not something that you guys are like, "Oh, yeah, I totally see it," but there is, a line or 2 in here that kind of infers or even, like, I won't say it necessarily even foreshadows, but, because I don't think it was intentional, but we'll get to it. There's a couple different things to talk about. So, all right, let's talk about how this whole thing was just the setup for the real thing, which is Dawn, which, as crazy as it is, Dawn's appearing in only a couple of episodes from now.
That's actually crazy. I was thinking about that.
Mhm.
I feel like the show changes astronomically when Dawn comes in. I mean, even Buffy as a character
Mhm.
changes in a lot of ways when Dawn comes in. I mean, honestly, anyone who has a sibling knows what kind of version of yourself a sibling brings out of you. Um, and I think that it's no different for Buffy. I think that Dawn brings out the best and worst in Buffy, which is so younger sibling like. It's just funny.
Leah's
Siblings
like,
can
"As
make
the
you.
youngest sibling, I would know."
No, I'm just saying, like, siblings can literally be the type of people where it's like you're screaming, yelling at them, they get on your nerves like nobody else, but it's like the minute you hear someone say anything bad about them, you're like, "Are you kidding me? Like, why would you
Yeah,
say that?" But
yeah.
you've definitely probably called them a lot worse, but it's just like they're your
Yeah,
sibling, so it's okay.
right.
Which I actually love the fact that we get to see that from Buffy. I think that it adds a lot of dimension to her character. Seeing Buffy step into that kind of motherly role for Dawn and the way that she ultimately, wow, I'm spoiling everything right now, but the way that she ultimately like sacrifices herself for her, like Dawn adds a beautiful, beautiful side to Buffy's character. And I think it kind of grows her up in an escalated way that I don't think we would have seen if Dawn wasn't in the show.
Mhm.
I like that we get both sides of Buffy, um, that are just completely like I feel like the first 4 seasons, I just honestly forget that like Dawn comes in because like Buffy being a single child is just like, "Oh, this is Buffy." You know what I mean? And then Buffy being like an older sister, I'm like, "Oh yeah, I forget about this whole other." I just feel like 5, 6, and 7 are its own beast in a really good ways and some really, like, rough ways, and same thing with the first, couple seasons, but, like, when I think of, like sometimes when I think of, like, Buffy the show, in my head, I'm thinking seasons 2 and 3. I don't know why, but when I think of, like, Buffy, that's what I think of. I think of, like, the high school, I think of, like, patrolling, and then when we get into later seasons, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I also forget this is Buffy the Vampire Slayer." Not in a bad way, I just feel like it just evolves in very different ways, and they do a lot of it really well, and Dawn is one of those things, and I love that we get to see, like, Buffy as a, like, very well done older sister, and I love that we get both. We get, like, only child Buffy, and we get, like, older sister, Buffy. And I really feel like both of them still feel like Buffy. Because I feel like if you throw in a younger sibling the way that they threw in Dawn, sometimes, I mean, unless you're SMG, like, you probably would feel like it doesn't feel like Buffy anymore because they're trying to like shoehorn this older sister, Buffy, that's not actually an older sister, but we have to believe it, you know? And she just does it really well. The show does it really well. So I love that we get both of them.
The idea of trying to approach the episode where Dawn comes in on the podcast is going to be so trifling. Like, how are we going to do that? Because we can't give spoilers, but we also can't be like, who is this new character that we've never seen before? Like, I'm trying to figure out how we're going to be able to, like, navigate that.
Well, I think that's more of a how are you going to be able to navigate that? Because I think Tabby and I are just gonna be like, "Oh, we don't know who this is," and Leah's gonna be like, "Yeah, we do."
That's not true.
You'll
I feel like I'm gonna gaslight everyone. I'd be like, "Oh yeah, so Dawn's here. Obviously Buffy's sister."
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be interesting. I guess, yeah, we'll just have to make sure we don't spoil it, but, yeah, that's gonna be really fun. It's only a
Hey,
couple
I have
episodes away.
never spoiled anything on the show, so.
I'm pretty
No,
sure our
Sarah edited them
listeners.
all out.
Yeah.
Sarah spoiled the whole lesbian relationship in the show. I feel like that makes her lose a little bit of bonus points.
I did not actually. That was David. David brought it up.
Dang, outcast him.
Speaking of siblings, throwing David under the bus there. You guys should check out our next episode, Where the Wild Things Are, because David and his wife Catherine will be on there, and that we've already recorded it. It's a fun episode. Some good stuff to talk about there. But yes, Dawn, can't believe we're going to be talking about her in a couple episodes. So, okay, I have a question for you guys. Do you guys think that this episode, because I've heard this from a couple different people, do you think that Superstar would have been better in season 5 with Dawn having already been introduced? If they had like in that section of time when you don't know who Dawn is and when Joss is absolutely gaslighting everybody and like Dawn is just being introduced with the rest of the characters, like she's been there the entire time for like 2 or 3 episodes and you're like what is happening? And then they throw in this episode and you have Jonathan. Do you think that that would have been a like this episode would have worked better there? Or do you think it works fine with where it's at in season 4? Because some people think that it's kind of weird where it is in season 4.
I don't think it should be in season 5 because I feel like I would have picked up on the fact that like they could easily gaslight us into a whole other like um fake storyline or whatever. I just feel like I would pick it up a little bit more. Whereas like there's enough time to when we find out who Donna is, um, that like you start kind of like questioning your own memory and be like, maybe they mentioned a sister that lived in LA at one point,
Yeah.
you know? And I feel like it's a lot more fun and a lot more like we get to see kind of like I said earlier, we get to see Buffy do so well and act so well as an older sister that it feels real that you're like wait a minute, you know, like it just the fluidity of Buffy being older sibling is done so well, that I feel like if I picked up on it right away because of Superstar landing itself before the whole Dawn reveal episode, then I feel like I would just pick up on it pretty quickly.
I agree with Tabby. I don't necessarily agree for that reason, but I just think that season 5 is so tight. I really wouldn't say that we should add or take away a lot of things from season 5 just because I really like the pacing of season 5. But also on another level, this episode adds some spice to season 4 that is desperately needed.
At this point,
I
yes.
like the fact no, literally, I like that there is an episode like this in season 4 because so much of season 4 is like just kind of like wah, 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 wah. Like, you know, it's just kind of like boring. So to have an episode like this, it kind of like wakes you up. Uh I just think the biggest downfall of this episode is trying to fit in reality into it that really takes you out of it.
Yeah, I think that Superstar would have worked better if they actually focused on Buffy and Riley talking to each other a little bit more. I like the concept of it a lot. And I agree with you, Leah. It was some levity was needed in this part of the season simply because we just had the Faith ones, and then we have Where the Wild Things Are, which takes itself far too seriously. Um, but it also is weird. Like, again, we talked about this in the spoiler free section. There's just far too much deviation from the Adam storyline. But I think at this point, I don't know how much better you can make the Adam storyline. So maybe it is good that they're not focusing on it. Like, we have other things to do. Um, but yeah, I think that season 4 is just made it's just shown to be so weak in comparisons to 3 and 5, which have amazing individual stories, but also an overarching villain, which is just phenomenal. But anyway, you guys have all heard us talk about that. Let's jump into some other stuff. So a little bit of trivia before we continue to the rest of everything else. So Danny Strong actually lives within half a mile of both Tom Lank and Adam Bush, his fellow actors in the nerd troika on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So he actually lives half a mile away from the guy who plays Warren and Andrew, which is hilarious. And apparently I've seen like pictures of them going out to coffee and stuff all the time. So apparently they're all like really good friends, which is absolutely hysterical because they're like the most toxic trio or like, combination of characters in the entire Buffyverse. And they're probably the ones that hang out the most, which just cracks me up to no end.
I'm sorry to the man who plays Warren because he played his character way too well, and I want to literally kill him every time I see him. I'm sorry, K word. But I I just I his face gives me visceral anger. Um
Yeah.
and I'm just sorry to the man because I know it's not his fault. He did way too good of a job playing Warren, but like actually just way too good.
My favorite thing is to see tweets that people still tweet at him um, about him being Warren and how he killed Tara and him just being absolutely unbothered. And like, yeah, people still know me as the misogynistic douchebag who killed one of their favorite characters on the show and the girl who was his ex girlfriend, which is hilarious. Like, I'm sure he never lived that down in the relationship, but it's just funny to think about. All right, so this episode is also Danny Strong's favorite episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, not surprisingly. That's
Of
something
course.
yeah,
It would be
of course.
mine too if I were him.
Yeah, it's the only Jonathan-centric episode, so, yeah, it's an absolute blast to probably act in as well as watch. Um, yeah, so this episode, man, it sets up all the things I dislike about season 6, and most of them have to do with assault, which is just an icky topic to talk about at all. I know, I'm so sorry. I'm
No, I
sorry.
no, thank you for kind of, teetering over there because I mentioned in the non-spoiler section about how there's a very similar scene in season 6 where we talk about or we it's kind of alluded to the fact that they know that taking over someone's brain. Actually, there's 2.
Yeah.
Taking
Yeah,
over
there's a
someone's
couple.
subconscious is like assault because well, the first one that comes to mind is obviously dead things.
Yeah, with
We
Katrina.
all know about that one. That one makes me feel physically ill. That whole episode makes me feel physically ill. Um Actually, that's probably my I know that everyone's is Seeing Red, but that's my least favorite episode in season 6 by far. It's just
Yeah.
specifically for me, it's a bit more triggering.
Mhm.
Other than that obvious scene in Seeing Red, but that one is just oh god, it's so bad. Um, and then the other one is the one that I feel like I forget all the time. Also in season 6 is Smashed, and that's
Mhm.
when Amy comes back, and then they go into the bar, and then Amy kind of does this spell on this girl to come up, and then tries to have Willow hook up with her, and I don't know. I don't know if this is fair of me, but I kind of wish we had a moment for Will to be like, "Hey, that's wrong," rather than being like, "Oh, I'm not into her because I'm still into Tara." Um, I don't know if that's fair of me to criticize that part because
No, I think
maybe
that
she
is,
was
yeah.
saying for both. But I just kind of wish in that moment it was like, "Hey, Amy," I don't know because I want Willow, even though she's in a dark place, to kind of still show some morality. And that seems like a clear one. And I know we talked about this in the non-spoiler section, but it's this whole part with the twins and everything. It's yeah, he's not necessarily completely changing the personality or making the girls like zombies. They still have it seems like they still everyone's still themselves, but if you're gonna it's almost as if I love How I Met Your Mother, but it's equivalent to Barney going in and pretending to be a, like, famous celebrity or something to get a girl into his pants. He's lying,
Mhm.
and changing their opinion of them in order for them to sleep with them. That's still kind of like coercion. So it's like, these girls, it's like the same to me. It's like they still have the same personality. It's not like they're zombies. It's not like he's just like having sex with them and they're mindless. It's like they're still them, but they think he is something that he's not,
Mhm.
which is still not okay. But it's like in this episode, it's kind of played off as laughs, whereas I feel like the other two, at the very least, the one in Dead Things was obviously seen in a horrible way. But I don't know. I just feel like the spectrum with this issue in the Buffyverse is just treated so differently. And I just kind of wish it was like very black and white and how it's being addressed. Because all of a sudden in Dead Things, it's like the biggest deal in the world, which it should be. Don't get me wrong. But then it's like we have episodes like this that it's like, it's funny, haha, and then they move on. And I know it's not the exact same, but still not good.
But I mean, in a way, because we've seen a lot of magical spells used to manipulate people's emotions. Um, we saw Willow do that. We saw didn't wasn't there an episode where everyone was obsessed with Xander?
I just remember that right now. Thank you, Leah. Yes, that one too. But then even still then he thought it was wrong to sleep with Willow.
Well, but there is a pattern though overall where which yes, give Xander his very minimal crumbs for doing the bare minimum of not taking advantage of someone. But there is, I think, an overall theme where we have always said that it was just violating to take someone's emotions out of their control, take someone's emotions and thoughts out of their control. We see that later on with Tara and Willow. We see that so many times with Willow, with Xander, with Buffy. Um, and I don't really think it's much different here. I think that he he knew that they weren't fully conscious. He knew that they were in a lot of ways being manipulated, and he took advantage. I think that he just took advantage. I think that that is completely the right thing to say. I don't know if I'd call it rape, but I definitely would say that he took advantage of them and robbed them of an actual opportunity to say no. Because, like, if you had someone in a different scenario, two people slept together, one person didn't wasn't upfront about something, and then they sleep together, and afterwards they tell them, it's like, well, if I had known that, I wouldn't have slept with you before. It's like you were
Mhm.
intentionally withholding important information
Mhm.
to just get off, pretty much, to satisfy your own needs. Um, that's I always think about that with people who have sexually transmitted diseases and they know that they do and they don't take like medication for it or anything like that and they willingly pass it to other people. I always think about that. I'm like, you chose not to tell that person, you chose not to get medicated for it or things like that because you just are selfish. Like that's in a completely similar but also different sense. That's how I
Mhm.
view this situation with Jonathan, where it's like you know that these women would not have slept with you if they viewed you the way that you actually are. And so you let them sleep with you when you're this version of yourself, which is just scummy and it's kind of gross.
Yeah. I think this is where the show's age starts to really show through is when you see issues with uninformed consent being kind of poo-pooed away. Again, I know this is a supernatural show, so a lot of these things, it's like this is not even ever going to happen in the real world. But there are cases with, being roofied and things like that, where there are things that happen where we're unable to give consent, where we're not aware of what's happening, or we're under the influence of some substance or alcohol, and we maybe give consent in that while we're under the influence, but we come out of that and go, oh my gosh, if I had been sober, I wouldn't have done that at all. So there are real life, real world circumstances that do correlate and relate to this. So I stand by, and this tends to be kind of the common definition, I guess, of consent when it comes to things like this is uninformed consent is not consent. And so in this instance where these girls are sleeping essentially with a person that is not who they
Mm.
think he is, I see that as uninformed consent. The fact that he says very pointedly at the end, the twins have moved out, shows you that they were
Mhm.
not wanting to, they were not willing
Yeah.
participants here. And so when we have dead things, when Katrina uses the R word and says that's rape, and you have Jonathan and Andrew looking shocked, like they're like, oh my gosh, we had no clue, which to give them the benefit of the doubt, it's maybe they didn't, and I'm not justifying what they did at all. But I think there is a very toxic mentality for, I mean, we have a word for it. It's called incel. It's guys who are involuntarily celibate. And so there is, and we're going to talk about this a lot in season 6, and they struggle with the fact that they can't get a girl. So that's where coercion starts to come into play. And we're starting to see a bit of that with Jonathan. Jonathan is a complicated case simply because we see where he's coming from, and we see that he genuinely, his desires are not bad. He wants connection, he wants friendship, he doesn't want to be alone, he wants to have purpose, all this stuff. But how he goes about it is often bad. And I'm appreciative that in season 7 we have a bit of a redemption arc, but I don't want to minimize what he's doing right here, because as we all have just talked about, in season 6 he escalates, or at the very least he doesn't stop someone who escalates, and he doesn't see it as wrong. And we have characters like Willow, who I think what you're referring to, Leah, was in Tabula Rasa, and in Once More with Feeling, when Willow uses the flower to change Tara's memory of their argument, and then they sleep together after that. Again, uninformed consent.
I never thought about that, Sarah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oof, because it's so hard. Because it's like, gosh, people being R-worded or just being violated is so prevalent in relationships, and I
Yeah.
feel like that doesn't get talked about enough. Um, but you're so right, Sarah. I didn't think about that. And it's like people dismiss it because it's like, well, they love each other, they sleep together all the time. But it's like, but that's not the point. Our
Yeah.
bodies are like, there are constantly times that like even in like this has nothing to do with being physical, but it's like there are times where I'm like, I like yesterday we had a really long day. One of my really good friends was like let's hang out, and there are moments where I'm like, I feel so overstimulated with talking to people that I just, this is a
Right.
boundary for me right now, and that's just mentally. Like same thing with physically, we're very fluid people. That's sexually, that's mentally, that's emotionally, and like that's like everyone's like that. So even in relationships that you could be in moods, you could also be in this case very emotionally angry and distant with your partner and not wanting to be intimate. And that is 1000% within your boundary and everything as a person. Like you are owning your autonomy. And so you don't owe anybody anything sexual, anything emotionally, unless you want to. Um, and so I think that a lot of people dismiss that. And myself, I just didn't really think about it. But you're so right, Sarah. Like in that, like, yes, they're in a relationship, but like they're also like Willow's in an ultimatum. And during that time, like their relationship is on like real thin ice. So the fact that she would
Mhm.
like kind of, I don't think she was meaning to do it in that moment in a malicious way because she loves Tara, but it's like that's not the point, you know? She obviously doesn't respect Tara enough and love her enough in that moment outside of her wanting to do that, than to like respect her and her mind and her boundaries, you know?
The biggest, oh, I might get so much hate for this. Sorry, guys. I think the biggest thing to think about, and granted, this is a few seasons away, but I think the biggest thing to think about with a lot of stuff that Willow does later on in the show is if you think about it from the lens of if Xander did that or if Buffy did that,
Mhm.
would we be so willing to overlook it? I think about all the hate that Xander gets, ours included. I think about all the hate that Buffy gets and all the hate that a lot of other characters get. And then I think about the hate that Willow doesn't get. And I
Mhm.
love Willow. This is not me saying that she deserves all this hate. I'm just saying Willow does a lot of jacked up stuff. I would
Mhm.
honestly put her and Xander on the same level of really jacked up stuff. Hers
Yeah.
probably worse. Well, actually, hers definitely worse. She kills someone.
Well,
um,
she also does have sex with someone without their consent. She changes people's minds and stuff like that intentionally versus Xander
yeah,
did it
yeah,
accidentally, but he never assaulted anyone during that time.
right. And so I do love Willow's character, and I think that she gets better after season 6 and all that. But I think that to say that Willow and Jonathan and Spike, not referring to seeing red, but referring to like the Buffy bot, all kind of made a similar choice in taking advantage of people who were not fully aware of the situation. Same thing even with Faith. She slept with Riley, um, and he thought it was Buffy. Like they're all very
Why are there
similar.
so many situations
Yeah,
of this
there's a
in the
lot.
show?
But I think that that's interesting that there's so many instances that are so similar, but some are treated seriously and other ones are not. You think of what Buffy and Riley and Faith went through. Oh my gosh, that was assault. You think of the stuff that Spike did. Oh my gosh, that was assault. But then you bring Willow into the conversation and people are silent. Then you bring Jonathan into the conversation and people are silent. It's because people don't want to talk about them because they view them from this very pure mindset. And I'm not saying they're bad characters, I'm not saying to bash them or anything. It's just more of an idea of like, treat all of the characters the same. If they mess up in the same type of way, they are all on the same level in that way. You know, some characters get better, some get worse, some atone for those sins, some don't. They're all different in that way, but a lot of them have made a very similar mistake that I think is valid for all of us to address.
Yeah.
You know who
Yeah.
hasn't? Buffy freaking Summers. Love her. Angel baby cakes.
Well, there's actually a very gray episode, maybe not so
Oh
much
no,
gray, I don't
where?
know.
When?
Um,
I'm
it's
scared now.
Gone in season 6 when she's invisible, and she goes to have sex with Spike, and he tells her no repeatedly, and she continues to,
I don't
advance
even
on
remember that
him.
episode.
Yeah.
I have zero memory of this episode.
I hate that. That I hate empty places or not empty places. I hate that one too. I hate dirty things. Is that the one? Dead things. I hate dead things.
Dead
The episode you
things.
were talking about, Tabs. I also hate Gone. I hate it so much. I think Buffy is acting out of character, but I think that's kind of the point. I don't know. That moment was played mostly for laughs, and it just is completely icky to me. But there is a
Well,
very problematic
I'll say
moment.
then, if that episode does come up and it's the same type of thing, I'll call Buffy out too. I
Yeah.
just think that like, I think that it also goes, moments like these are like when Joss's true nature shows. I
Or
think that,
Marty.
or Marty, yeah. Homegirl Marty. Um, but I
Leah
think
and
that,
Marty, man.
sorry, dude, it's just no one sane can make that many weird, corrupt sex storylines. Sorry. Anyways, um, I think that it's obvious that whoever wrote or writers, whoever did these storylines, thought that this stuff was okay most of the time, and thought it would be pawned off as a laugh and all that. And I just think that it's very obvious that these are the type of people that, you know, are not the type of people that victims would want to tell stuff to. I'll just say that.
Yeah. Again, like I said before, it's a product of its time. That's not to justify it, that's to give context for it. But again, when we come back and we talk about it, this is what we're supposed to do as a podcast. We're supposed to dissect and throw out the bad, and we're supposed to applaud the good. And we're supposed to give a commentary on these things and say, hey, this is how it has changed. And unfortunately, we are entering into a bit more of a problem. I mean, season 5 starts to delve into some really messy areas with Spike. And obviously Warren enters and stuff like that. But I think Jonathan is an interesting case, and I'm really excited to talk about him as we go on further because I love episodes like Superstar because it sets the stage. If we had jumped directly from seeing him in the prom or graduation day trying to help Cordelia and then jump straight to, oh, he's now friends with the trio, we would be like, wait a minute, wait, what happened in between there? So I think that it was really important that we had Superstar as a stepping stone to show that Jonathan is floundering. He's trying, but he's floundering, and he gets mixed up with the wrong crowd. Um, and some people actually theorize that the troubled kid that Jonathan references in this episode, that he met in counseling, was Warren. So Jonathan says to Buffy at the very end of the episode, he says, "After the thing with the bell tower and the gun, I went to counseling other kids with problems. One of them had this spell. He glossed right over the monster. Well, anyway, I wanted to apologize." And a lot of people theorize that that's where he met Warren, which I think is really cool. The one comment that I wanted to make about Willow was, at one point when they're all sitting around going, "Oh my gosh, I hope Buffy's okay. I hope, nothing bad's gonna happen to her. I wish there was something we could do." Part of the episode, while Jonathan and Buffy are off, fighting for their lives. At one point, Riley is reading a book on spells, and he goes, "These spells, these really work? I mean, can you really turn your enemies inside out?" And yes, apparently you can, as we will find
I
out.
did not even hear that line. What?
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
I caught that.
Yeah, I was like, "Ooh, all
I
right."
swear, sometimes Sarah and I literally watch different episodes.
The difference is ADHD.
That's accurate.
Whoa, just got diagnosed.
I know you're so shocked, right?
I'm like, what?
Okay, and I don't want to dwell on this last part too much because we are going to be talking about this ad nauseum for half of season 5 and all of season 6. But I kind of hinted at it in the spoiler free section when we're talking about Spike coming on to Buffy. And I read that quote from Passion the Nerd, who says it's always interesting to be reminded how close sex and violence are for Spike, as well as how, when presented with a depowered Slayer lacking in self confidence, Spike seeks to assert sexual dominance over her. And we see how Spike is taking advantage of Buffy in this episode, how he doesn't even remember her name and simply treats her as an object. And how, like, this honestly reminds me of Fool for Love, where he says, "Someday, sweet Slayer, I'd love to take you on, see you face the evil alone for once." Um, and so again, these are all just like stepping stones, things that are priming us for the things that are going to happen in seasons 5 and 6. And that's all I'll say about it. If you guys want to say more, you can. But we're going to be talking about it a lot in the coming seasons. So, not to minimize it, I just know that I'm going to get sick and tired of talking
I was
about it.
about to say, I was like, we could tackle all this when we're stuck in season 6 for
Yeah.
so freaking long.
It's like 6 full long seasons or 6 full long episodes of them. Yeah. We'll talk about it when we get there. But just so you guys know, this is a reminder that Spike's crappy nature doesn't just pop up out of nowhere. It's been there all along, and we're just setting the table for it. All right. And last but not least, I feel like this is such a bummer of a spoiler episode because I'm talking about all the crappy things that people are going to be doing later
Because it's
on.
all correlated to season 6.
It is. Well, this one's actually to season 5. So, Riley, this made me really mad when I thought about it, when I realized it. So, the entire issue in this episode between Buffy and Riley is Buffy feeling insecure because she thinks that Riley will compare her to Faith, and she's wondering if he still cares about her. She just wants reassurance. She just wants to know. But what does Riley do in season 5? Get sucked off by vampires, which is essentially a metaphor for cheating on Buffy with a sex
Stop.
worker.
Sorry.
I mean, like, it's what happens. How irritating and how frustrating. Riley knows it hurts her. I mean, well, duh, of course. But not that it wouldn't have been bad if he didn't know it would hurt Buffy, because of course it's going to hurt. But this feels like it cuts deeper since he has seen her reaction to a similar situation and then still actively goes and seeks it out in the next season. And obviously we're going to talk about that. But I never made that like correlation in my mind until I watched this, and I was like, oh my gosh.
I don't think I can explain to people the
Here
sheer
it comes.
joy it will give me to absolutely obliterate Riley when he makes the worst decisions. Him going and getting a little sucky from vampires, I cannot wait for that episode. I cannot wait. Because all those people are like, "Nee, you're so hard on Riley." No. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. That to me will be my favorite episode. When people ask me what episode are you looking forward to, the episode where I feel that it is finally time to fully rain hell down on Riley. I cannot wait. I'm looking forward to it so much. I can quit the podcast after that.
The passion.
I know. It's not Warren that, really ruffles Leah's feathers. It's not Spike assaulting Buffy. It's
Well,
Riley
because
getting
those things are so obvious. Like Spike gets so much hate for sexually assaulting Buffy.
You'd
Absolutely
be
deserved.
surprised.
Warren gets so much hate for the stuff that he does. Scumbag, absolutely deserved. Both of them deserved scumbags. Interesting characters, but scumbags. However, I hear people all the time be like, Riley's just a good-hearted little boy from Iowa. And if Riley had just given, or if Buffy had just given him the chance, then they would have been living happily ever after together all the time. And they're wrong. They are wrong. Because Riley is the worst. He's an awful boyfriend to her. He's just awful. I'm here to speak up for all the Buffies in the world who have ever dated a dumb little stupid loser Riley. Please break up with him. The end.
I have tears coming down.
Oh my gosh. Well, season 5 is gonna be real interesting.
Oh, I know. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, that's funny, Leah. Well, your time is coming. Just a few more episodes, and then Riley's true colors will show. It's just kind of funny to me that to Leah, being a boring character is worse than for her, at least personally, was more annoying and is worse than some of the other characters, which I know you just justified and all that stuff, but you're just like, Riley is boring and therefore
No, that is not what I'm saying. Oh my gosh. I am not justifying or saying that Riley is worse than Warren or he's worse than soulless Spike. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm just saying is that Riley gets on my nerves because people try to come to his defense and be like, he's so innocent. He would have never hurt a fly. What it's just wrong. It's just wrong. Whereas, so many people I feel like bag on Spike and Warren for valid reasons that I feel like I don't need to as much.
I don't think anyone's saying that Riley is innocent and that he wouldn't hurt a fly. I think that you do have to separate his actions in season 5 from who he is in season 4. I think the most that he is culpable of in season 4 is being really boring and maybe in Doomed, I guess bullying. I don't know. I don't feel like he quite
I
bullies
think
Buffy.
Riley's a little stupid baby little loser. So he is the worst. Stupid little whatever
We'll
the
work.
worst words you can think of, that's what he is. A little chicken looking piece of poo. That's what Riley is. I think he's a little baby poo chicken. That's what Riley is.
All right.
Leah, tap out, girl. Tap out.
No, okay. Yes, season 5 will be very interesting. Tune in for Leah's rants. I'm sure they will be epic, and she will be standing up and applauding when Riley gets on that helicopter and into the woods.
I would have driven it for him personally.
Flown it, you mean? It's not a car.
Okay, okay, same freaking thing. I would have steered it, driven it, flown it, whatever mode of transportation Riley would have needed, I would have been there to deliver it to him. Uber, airplane, helicopter, boat, scooter, Heelys,
Scooter.
rollerblades, whatever the man needed, I would have been there.
I'm dying.
Honestly, Riley is so obviously wrong in that episode. For me, what does it in is Xander trying to gaslight Buffy.
And that's supposed to be like this one moment where it's like a clicky moment for Buffy, and you're like, what did he even say? I don't even understand what the speech actually was.
Yeah, I'm gonna reserve my thoughts for that because I actually want to go listen to it again and stuff because Yeah, I have thoughts. We'll talk about it when we get there. But anyway, okay. I feel like after Leah's epic rant, this is going to be really anticlimactic, but I teased this in our superstar episode, the regular one. So I have a fun fact about the guy who plays Brad, or the guy named Brad Kane who plays Tucker Wells and does the voice for Jonathan in this episode,
Mhm.
the singing voice. So we had talked about how he did the singing voice for Aladdin, how he's going to be Andrew's brother, all that other stuff. So believe it or not, guys, I was like on the floor when I read this fun fact. So Brad Kane is actually married to a significant actress over on Angel. Do you guys have any guess on who it is?
Darla.
No, it's not Darla, but good guess. I'm applauding
Leah
you for
remembers her.
remembering. Yeah, for remembering her.
Uh, Kate.
No, but think about maybe the
Look at Leah remembering all these
liked
blondes. So proud.
least liked character over on Angel. Other than you know who, Connor.
Connor. I'm like, Connor! The
Yeah.
chick that Angel slept with for like 2 episodes before the end of the world.
No, but again, another good guess. You're naming all these like
Wow,
really
Leah,
great
all the
characters.
blondes.
I know.
Wait, what's her name? Nina?
That is the chick that Leah just mentioned that slept with Angel, his girlfriend
I
in
know, I was
season
trying to
5.
remember her
Yeah,
name.
no, it's not. You guys are doing really well though.
Wait, the
It
most
is
hated? Let me think. No, wait.
Jasmine.
Nope, she's not the most hated.
The most hated. Wait, I want to guess. Don't tell me.
I won't tell you. Go ahead.
It's been a minute since I've seen the show Angel.
I bet you guys don't even remember her until I mention her because she's
Is
so.
she the girl in the red pantsuit?
the red-haired girl, the one who slices his throat and then puts him in the ocean. Two separate characters. Wesley's
Oh,
throat and then Angel in the ocean.
Janine, I think is her name. No, it's not Janine.
Oh, I freaking hate her.
Yeah, I actually didn't like her either.
Um,
I think it's Janine. I can't even
the
remember.
Oracle. No,
The
it was
Oracle.
the male Oracle who
Oh, it
who was like
Randall.
trashing on and getting so mad about being
Nope.
painted. It was the
Not-
worst experience of my life of staying there.
That is so funny. If you guys have not heard our "I Will Remember You" episode, oh my gosh, we for like
So funny.
7
That
minutes
was the most like out of pocket information
interview.
Sarah ever shared on the podcast. Like I remember us fully laughing about that for like hours because it's just so funny that he's like, that was single-handedly the worst experience of my life. This is like in like a couple episodes.
Okay, so I'm going to give you guys a hint. She's only in the last season of Angel.
Eve, duh.
It's Eve.
Oh yeah.
Who's Eve?
Yeah, there it is. There it is, right there.
Who's Eve? Isn't that Jasmine? That's who I meant, right?
No, Eve is in season 5. She's the one that takes over for Lila. And at one point, Lauren accidentally casts a spell on the office because he's like sleep deprived, and her and Angel end up sleeping together. And then you end up finding out that Eve is in a relationship with Lindsay. Sorry for everyone who's hasn't seen Angel. She ends
Who's
up sleeping with.
Lila?
Okay, never mind. You don't remember. All right.
Be for real, Leah.
I do not remember any of this.
Leah, Lila is the one that ended up sleeping with Wesley for like a whole season while he's depressed.
Oh, I knew who she was. I just didn't know her name. She's cool. I
Yeah.
like Lila.
Lila's awesome. Eve is the dollar store version of Lila. And what makes it worse is that they decided to fire the actress, I believe. I need to double check this. So don't take this with a grain of salt. They there are rumors that they had to fire the actress who played Lila because she asked for a pay raise going into season 5 because she was getting so much screen time. She was doing really well, all that stuff. And they refused to give her a pay raise because, it's Joss Whedon's Angel show, and fired her and then hired the actress who played Eve. And nobody liked Eve, and Lila was just way better.
Stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was. And she deserved that pay raise. Stupid, ugly, booty hole Joss Whedon should have given it to her.
Leah is a little spicy today, a little firecracker. Coming up with new insults all the time. No, yeah. So my jaw was on the floor. I couldn't believe that this guy has so many ties to the Buffyverse, and yet he's only got a handful of actual scenes, and yet his wife is in a full season, and his voice is heard multiple times, and apparently he has an in-universe younger brother, which is just hilarious. So All right, so that was our spoiler section for Superstar. We hope you guys learned some things. We hope you enjoyed our discussions. If you guys have anything that you would like to add, definitely email us or DM us on Instagram at Becoming Buffy, or you can email us at becomingbuffypodcast@gmail.com. I'm always super curious about people's thoughts, especially when it comes to sticky topics like this. With all the stuff with the mind control and everything that happens in the later seasons. So definitely let us know your thoughts on that. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for your support, and we will see you guys next time.